harvest, and just wanted to show you what we're going to do next. And this is kind of like just something that I've watched, and we're just going to wing it. So we've got our tomatoes here. These are our, some of them are aromas, and some of them are just your larger cherry tomatoes, as well as our banana peppers and the remainder of our pepperoncinis that are turning red. I have some already, like I said, set aside. This is actually a jalapeno that's turned red, and we have another one in there. So I'm going to also use those as well. And then the remainder of our cherry tomatoes. These have all been cleaned and destemmed. We've got all those over there that are remaining. And then we're going to go ahead and get this set up to start processing these into a refrigerated pickling, if you will. And so we've noticed lately, a lot of people, once they harvest, obviously, you know, we have more and more that we're harvesting. We're starting to plant more and more on our property, and we just can't eat all of this ourselves. Sometimes we give it away to family. Other times we might just freeze it and then can it later. But for the purpose of just enjoying this, but getting it quickly processed, we're going to go ahead and get these pickled. So I'll show you the process. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and cut up these variety of peppers. And just to be safe, I've got some jalapenos here, as well as the pepperoncinis, which can be a little spicy. I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on, because I do wear contact lenses occasionally, and what can happen is you could potentially even just, you know, scratching your eye or a sensitive area and get that in your eye, and that is not going to be fun. So I've got some gloves on just to be safe. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut these up, and I'm going to save my seeds from the stems. So you can see here the end of the pepper. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. Save that, and I want to keep the seeds intact on the slices, because that's going to add to the flavor. That one I'll probably keep to the side, because it's got some brown in there, and just to be safe, it could very well be just dried seeds, or it could be something that was inside the pepper. Same with this one. And this is why I'm going to do this process, because I just want to be able to get these processed quickly in some form or fashion, so that, yeah, it's got some brown in it as well. Okay, that side. And we can let those go to seed. cutting all of these up. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and add these to my pickling jar. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and get these set aside for later. And what's nice is you've got such a variety of colors. So that'll look really pretty inside the jar as well. Okay, so I've got that set aside. Now, what I'm going to do now is, because of the process of pickling, I want to go ahead and poke holes inside my tomatoes. So here I've got my larger tomatoes. What you want to do is you just want to go ahead and get yourself a toothpick, and you're going to literally poke a hole through the tomato, bring it out the other end, and then go back in and poke that through again into a different hole. It doesn't have to be the same one, or if it is, that's okay. You just want to make sure that you are allowing the brine to get in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish these up and put this in every one of my tomatoes. Some people, they might like poke it through and then poke it through again, that same hole, and then do another hole. But really, it's just fine to do 2 holes and have it go through. And what I've done is I've separated out my tomatoes to ensure that I don't have any bug marks, no splits, no signs of intrusion on my tomato. That's good too. Okay, so those are done. Then what I want to do, and I'm going to go ahead and set these pepper ends aside. Oh, I don't want to get that on my hand. Probably should have done that different. There we go. So I'm going to get those put aside, and we're going to let those go to seed. Okay, so I've got my larger tomatoes, my peppers, and now I have the cherry tomatoes. Forgot that I had this pretty loaded. All right. So I've seen people do this with larger cherry tomatoes. I don't have larger ones, so I'm just going to go ahead and poke 1 hole through these, I think, just to be safe. Should work. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to poke these, and then we're going to go ahead and start the process. Okay, while I finish these up, I'm going to go ahead and get the water boiling, or not boiling, but just warm enough. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to get the water and the vinegar and the salt to a nice warm temperature. We don't want to have it boiling because we don't want to cook the tomatoes or the peppers I know the last process that we did with the pepperoncinis, we did get it to a boil, and that was fine for the pickling process that we're doing. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and get it on like a nice medium heat. So I've got a large pot here, and I'm going to go ahead and start with my water. And since I've got a gallon mason jar, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 cups of water. And then I'm going to do my distilled white vinegar. I'm going to do 2 cups of that as well. So equal parts. You decide on how much you need. Okay. And in this process, I'm going to go ahead and use kosher salt. So I want to do I still have my tablespoon here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a tablespoon per cup. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now I've got my brine in here, and I went ahead and I added some more vinegar and some more water and salt, just because I thought, well, I might do 2 of those, I'm not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and get this heated up. Keep my eye on that. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and still process my tomatoes. Okay, similar to the other process that we did with the pepperoncinis, we're going to go ahead and add garlic. I'm going to do 2 cloves per half gallon mason jar. I'm going to go ahead and smash these to bring out flavor. Just like that. And what I want to do is put that at the bottom. I'll add the other one later. And now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of peppercorns to the bottom. And 2 teaspoons of mustard seed. Okay, and since these are already poked through, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to poke through the other side of them and drop them in. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a couple in there. and I'm going to put a couple of my cherry tomatoes, the smaller ones. And then I'm going to add, I've already taken my glove off, but use this paper towel. Oh, better yet, I'm just going to go ahead and use that. And scoop in some of my peppers. So basically what I've done is I've done like that much of the tomatoes, and then I did some cherry tomatoes, and then I did the rest in peppers. And I'm just going to continue that process until I fill it up. You can hear that heating up. So I've got it steeping here. I'm going to put it on low, let it kind of cool down a little bit. Again, we don't want that boiling. Now I'm going to add more of my cherry tomatoes and my peppers. All right, keep on going. And get my other tomatoes in there. So I can use these cherry tomatoes and simply put them in the refrigerator, use them on salads. Don't have to use everything up. Or I can go ahead and put them in here just to kind of save some of that head space. And get that nice and full. And there you have it. That is so pretty with all the colors. Okay, I'm gonna let my brine cool down a little bit because it's still a little warm, and then I'm gonna add it here. Okay. So what we want to do now, I'm going to move this over this way. So we've got our brine that has been cooling off, hopefully. That's absolutely fine. Poured it inside the glass, so it'll be fine inside this glass as well. All right. So, oh gosh, I can already smell that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill it up with a 1/2 inch headspace there. What you want to do is you want to make sure that everything is covered. settle. And just like we did before when we added it, it took a little while. It took about a minute or so to kind of settle there for those vegetables to absorb the brine. And then we'll just check it and make sure that we don't have to add any more of the brine, cap it, and we're ready to go. Okay, so we've got a little bit more room there now that everything's kind of sunk down in the jar. And I'm just going to simply add some more brine. I've got my wide mouth plastic lid that I can simply screw on there, hand tight, not too tight, yeah, just like a nice good grip. And like this. Now this is going to go ahead and go in the refrigerator and stay in there. And it can stay in there as long as 2 months. Some people have even left it in there for 4 months. So do your own research on that. But isn't that gorgeous? Look at the colors in there. I am so excited to eat that. And it's just so pretty to look at sitting in your refrigerator as well. So this should be ready to eat in 1 to 2 weeks. 1 week you should be fine, but 2 weeks is what I'm leaving the pepperoncinis in there for. So I'll just go ahead and leave that in there and we have it ready to go. So, all right. That will wrap up our summer harvest. We do have a few more things that we're probably going to harvest before we leave out of town. And then when we get back, we'll probably get some of the green tomatoes that are still remaining before we go into fall, and we'll show you how to process those, because you can also put green tomatoes in here as well. So if I get time, I will show you that as well. All right, well, thank you for watching.